start coming and they don't stop coming. Fed to the rules and I hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart but your head gets dumb. So much to do.
Welcome, guys, to part 40 of What If Dale Survived the Remake. Now, last time, we got into the Savior arc fully and completely with the entrance of Negan and Dale, Eastman, and Tyrese's and everyone else's efforts to try and sway Negan being utterly thrown to the side. And today, Dale's eye has fully turned blood red. And we're gonna see what ramifications that has on his life and everyone else involved today. Because trust me, you guys are not gonna want to miss this, or any of the episodes before this. So, let's get into it. Dale's eye has shifted into a blood red, fully. Not half, not a quarter, but fully. Now, any compassion or side of Dale that he could control, the rage that he unknowingly used to kill Nicholas and push Glenn, now that's out in the open completely. He's not in control of his actions, nor does he know what he's doing, and that's gonna really put him in effect. But before we get into what that might entail, after this happens, and a few people taking notice of this, before anyone can fully react to why Dale's turning his head and mixing in feelings of emotions or whatever, he sits up, almost standing up, raises his shotgun arm, and pow! It goes off straight into Negan's stomach, pushing him to the ground, him dropping his bat. Now this didn't hit his head, but he is in no means, shape, or form alive to the point where, he could survive this for long. He's alive right now, but that's a shotgun blast to the stomach. So, he ain't exactly in the greatest of, health right now, if you get what I mean. And the masked figure who had been watching all of this, and I mentioned in the last episode, emotions begin to show somewhat on the face of the mask of this mysterious woman. And she knows that sooner or later, she's gonna have to step in and go down there herself. But before that, after shooting Negan, Dale stands up, rage completely flowing through his body, and his eye glowing red to everyone around. And he says to everyone in the area, "I'm going to effing kill you all! And if you guys on the ground don't want to get in the way, then get up and do something right effing now!" Now, I know I didn't really get the lines that I typed there, down in point, but I kind of summed it up that Dale is, beyond himself right now. And everyone is so confused and scared, including the Saviors, specifically Simon and the rest, because they just saw this old man go from a compassionate moral compass with those other dudes, trying to convince Negan not to kill one of them, and it's the minute that one of them goes, everything goes to crap. Literally, he turns into a frigging demon and shoots Negan. But Rick knows that even if Dale is not even close to himself right now, this might be their only chance to get the upper hand, because if Dale does this all on his own, he could expel his life force, and they could at least stop him from doing that as much as possible and get the upper hand the right way. So, Rick knows that while they gotta steer clear from Dale while helping him out to make sure they don't die while keeping him alive, they gotta get the upper hand now. Rick yells, "Now!" And everyone jumps up, gets their weapons from the Saviors, kills them, and begins shooting every other Savior in the area. This was the opening, thanks to Dale creating it, that they needed. even though it took a minute because of Dale's obvious big turnaround, Dale doing this ultimately meant like leaps and bounds for them to get the advantage on the Saviors. And Dale, his anger is showing beyond fully and completely. And he is yelling out that he's throwing profanities and gunshots and shootings and everything this way and that at every Savior he sees. He can't even control himself. He almost shoots several of the group accidentally, and they gotta like duck out of the way and like put Saviors in the way of the shots. Because Dale is almost doing all the killing by himself, raising his shotgun hand over and over. And he doesn't even recognize that he's losing his life force because he's just beyond listening to anyone at this point or even recognizing his condition. But everyone tries to kill as many Saviors as possible to stop Dale from, expelling more from him than he should or can. And while this is going on, Negan tries to get back up on his feet, but that shotgun blast to the stomach, especially after being power tackled by Tyrese very good beforehand, you gotta admit that he ain't even barely able to stand after this. And then he sees everything that's going on. First, before he looked at everything, he was like, okay, now this old man's gotta die too. Definitely. But once he sees everything that's going on and sees that specific old man who shot him and everyone else is on their feet and killing his men, tries to get his bat back and gain control, but he can barely freaking move at the moment until he sees someone from behind him say his name and step towards him. The masked woman is who it is. And it's Sherry. Let's be honest, if the picture didn't tell you guys who the frick it was, then I don't know what other indicators I could have given. Yep, it's Sherry. Now you guys might be wondering, why the frick is Sherry there? Well, you're gonna see here in a minute. And Negan seeing this is like, what are you doing here? And he can barely even speak, but he still manages to get out like, what are you doing here? And Sherry's like, I came here to protect you. And once I saw that man shoot you, I knew I had to save my lover. And if this doesn't prove that I love you, I don't know what does. And very surprisingly, Negan did not expect this turnaround from Sherry, but he likes it and says, thank you. And with that, they get into a kiss, only for Sherry to plunge a knife straight into Negan's neck, showing that this was a trap. And she says in tears and anger, there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that I would ever love you, you tyrannically power-hungry monster. And then she kicks Negan straight in his shot stomach to the ground, making him sit there now, like, for good. Grabs his bat Lucille and says now she's going to do exactly what he did to that guy over there, Tyrese, and most importantly of all, what he did to Dwight. And Negan's dying moments, he's like, he knows that that's truly what she came here for. But Dale steps in front of her and says that if there is anyone that is killing Negan, it's going to be him. He is the one who shot him, and he meant to kill him. And if there's anyone who has the right to kill this monster, it's him. He wants him to suffer, like he should have made every other villain suffer before. And now, he's going to take his sweet time and kill Negan personally. And this is the rage of Dale spilling out to the surface. But Sherry says, no, Negan needs to pay by her hand. He killed her boyfriend slash husband, or however they were in freaking love. I really don't know. But anyway, she says that Negan's death deserves to be by her hand, for Dwight's. She understands and saw the whole thing, but she also knows she won't live with herself if she doesn't do this personally. Dale says he doesn't care. This villain encapsulates every single villain that he ever met before him. And he wants to put all of his pain, his anger, his malice, his sadness, and just utter and complete feelings into killing Negan, like he should have done with every other villain that ever came across them. And this isn't Dale talking, this is his demon side, like I said. And we get to see an awesome pic. This is where the pic of Dale that I showed in those previews and the community posts finally come into play, showing that Dale has truly evolved into a merciless killer, unbeknownst to even himself. And it was all because of that gunshot to his head, or eye, you know what I mean. And he says that if he doesn't get to kill Negan, no one will. Eastman, after they all kill the saviors and everything, he's telling Dale to stop. Tyrese, he wouldn't want this. And even though, yeah, he did tackle him and everything, and he pretty much was getting ready to kill Negan himself in his dying moments, he's trying to calm Dale down because he knows that this isn't him. No one... He shouldn't want to see... He doesn't want to see Dale like this. He knows Dale's not like this. It's going against everything that he stood for. And he needs to come back from this. No one needs to kill Negan. He looks dead enough already, and they could still save him. But Dale and Sherry now both tag team round on Eastman, saying that no, they're both going to kill Negan. Both insinuating either the kill for both of them or just alone. It doesn't matter. They don't want to let this moment go. And they ain't budging, and they ain't buying what Eastman's selling. But then Glenn steps up and is like, Dale, this isn't you. What happened to the Dale that tried to save us from killing Randall? The Dale that told us about Shane? The Dale back at the prison and Woodbury? This isn't you. You're letting that rage and the eye and everything get to you. And who knows how much life force you've lost from shooting so much. You have to stop. The war is over. We don't need to fight anymore. But Dale, he isn't listening at all. And he sees Glenn as another pest. No part of Dale recognizes Glenn as a pretty much like the role that Dale and Glenn played, you know. And Dale teaching him and everything, he doesn't see him as anything but a nuisance now, and tells Glenn to back the HE double hockey sticks off. Everyone needs to learn now. What just occurred with Negan doing this and these saviors, they should have put the finishing kills on every villain that ever fell before them. The Wolves, the Governor, Randall, Shane. They should have killed them all when they had the chance. Had they done that, Tyrese would still be alive. And everyone would still be alive. Andrea, Amy, and he is going off the lid until while he's doing this, his brain starts to bleed profusely and flash. And then Dale falls to the ground, clutching his eye and screaming out in pain. And his eye now is starting to bleed out profusely. That everything that just happened, it was too much for Dale's mind and his eye, his mainly brain, to take. Because of that part of his brain getting affected by the bullets, if Dale, even had he not shot that much, this would have still happened. And everyone is just so confused to see what's happening to Dale now. Until after a good long moment of this, Dale falls to the ground, motionless. And he's just lying there. After all that, he just falls down, now is just lying there. Nobody knows what to think. Rick doesn't know what to think. One minute, Dale just saved their lives while almost killing many of them. Negan he was tortured half to death with a shotgun blast, power tackle, and a knife to the neck. Who knows what's still going on with him over there. And now Dale, whatever just happened with him. And they can all infer what's just happened with Dale, but none of them can think properly right now. Until Rick finally regains his thoughts and is like, no, we gotta get Dale and Maggie, now both, to Hilltop. We need to go there now. The war with the Saviors, it's over. This conflict is over. And everyone recognizes that, yeah, Dale isn't moving, and this is bad. And Maggie needs to go to Hilltop pronto as well. They all need to go now. And they're all starting to get worried and remember about Dale and everything. And Glenn is very worried at this because I don't even need to mention how much Glenn and Dale cared about each other, so me mentioning it again would be kind of beyond a repeat, if I do say so myself. So, yeah, Glenn is like, now he's got two people to worry about. Now he's got his pregnant wife that they gotta get to Hilltop to worry about, and Dale, who's lying motionless on the ground, not knowing if he's freaking dead or unconscious. And Eastman, before they leave, he's like, all right, well, we know we gotta get these two to Hilltop, but what about Negan over there? Can we save him? And at least, like, try to do what we were just talking about before Dale fell to the ground and everything? Because who knows if there's more saviors and we can almost use them as leverage, or maybe try to make him finally change sides after what just happened to him. Rick says that's completely out of the question. If Dale or other people were around him too long and Dale wakes up, they'll just kill him anyway. But then they all look over and say, and notice, because of the shotgun blast and the knife to the neck, while this was all happening, after Dale stopped Sherry, Negan was just bleeding out and dying on the ground. So by this point, he would have already been dead and slowly start to turn into a walker. So yeah, while they were all busy dealing with Dale and Sherry and Dale being motionless and now having to leave, Negan had just died without any of them knowing it. So, any thoughts of sparing him pretty much went right out the frickin' window. So yeah, kind of pointless, but hey. Sherry says, none of them gotta worry about Negan. Not now. She will take care of him, or, you know, what was him, personally. They need to get to Hilltop and take care of Dale and Maggie, or whoever her name was. She will take care of Negan's bats and his role at the sanctuary. There are more saviors, she admits. But her having the bat and claiming that she killed Negan, because it was her that landed the knife, so technically she did land the finishing blow. She says that as long as she covers it up with killing Negan and getting the bat and everything, they should have to listen to her. There's no Simon anymore. And as for Gavin and the other leaders there, they might just have no choice. And she'll tell them to back off on ruling other communities, and they will stay out of Rick and them's way. But if they do need help in the future, and if Dale awakens, she will be there to lead the saviors to help them. But she says for now, they gotta focus on what's right, and she's gotta get the saviors in line. Like, literally, all of them in line. And she would thank Rick and everybody else for their help in killing Negan, because she originally was just going to come and do it herself. She had no idea about Rick's people or Dale or anything until it happened, and says that if it weren't for them, she might have got killed trying to do it. So ultimately, it's thanks to them that she was able to avenge Dwight, and they were able to get here. And she surely and very hopefully hopes Dale will come back alive. And Rick smiles and says thank you to her too for her help. And yeah, Dale might have created the opening, but she landed the finishing blow. So ultimately, it was thanks to Dale and Sherry that this whole ordeal was figured out in the first place. So they both get a frickin' thumbs up or nod of approval, if you will. But anyways, with thanks and like future stuff and talking about that stuff out of the way, they know they gotta take care of this stuff pronto, because the Saviors will be expecting Negan, and people at Hilltop and Alexandria are gonna wonder where they went. And Dale, we don't know if he's dead or not, and Maggie's gotta get to Hilltop. So they rush off in the RV to Hilltop, and Sherry takes Negan's role with the vest and the bat, and takes Negan's walker as visible proof, and goes to the sanctuary. Now the only leader types, technically, are Laura, Gavin, and Regina. And once they see Sherry with Negan's attire and Negan's walker, they all aim their guns. But Sherry says she's the one who killed Negan for Dwight, and that she and Dwight just wanted to be alone, especially with Tina, because she's still around. But now they're going to do things a different way. She will lead the Saviors into a new age. And once she has led them to a good enough standpoint, they're going to help out the enemy, or who they proclaim the enemy, whenever she says. And with that, we cut off to her beginning her rule with the Saviors. Back at Hilltop, Gregory sees everyone rushing into the RV and wants to know what happened with the Saviors, but everyone just explains to Gregory quickly and almost brushes him off. And it's like, they don't really care about him at the moment. And they do mention that Negan's dead and the Saviors are dealt with. So, I mean, that would sit well with Gregory. But then he wants to know what happened with Dale and the deal that they had. But once he sees that Dale is being carried in along with Maggie, he just finds it best in this point, the one point that I really think that Gregory would actually listen, and shuts his mouth. Because he can clearly see that Dale looks like he is on death's door, and they got a freaking pregnant Maggie to deal with Dr. Carson. So I think he would find it best and in his best interest to just shut his mouth. Maggie is taken care of easily, obviously, because it's really not that big a deal. As for Dale, Glenn talks with Dr. Carson immediately after and asks him what's going on with Dale. And a lot of them already know about Dale's eye. They know about the brain thing. They just want to hear it from a doctor, like how he's doing, if he's going to make it out, and like specifics, you know? Because it's been a minute since they were around like a doctor since Grady Memorial, really. Dr. Carson says that he's never experienced a situation like Dale before, and he notices that Dale is not responding at all at the moment, and it will take some time to even get him up, but then he's going to try and figure out like what's going on and if there's anything that he can do, but it will take a good amount of time. After 20 minutes, which is not really that good amount of time, but enough, he comes out and says that he's got bad news. Very bad news. Dale is awake and no longer hostile as they proclaimed, but the situation with him isn't exactly peaches and butterflies. He says that whatever life he had in him, that eye and his brain activity have halted his life. And he noticed that his brainwave activity and just his movement in general, along with the showcasing of his eye still bleeding a good bit, he ain't got that much longer left to live. And he thinks that it's all due to some kind of repeated action that might have overstimulated his brainwave activity and, messed with his life. And Glenn and everybody knows what he's talking about. It was his shotgun. He did shoot too much. And Tyrese's death, that must have been the anger-inducing overstimulation that ultimately moved Dale to shoot and then didn't stop. That was the moment that he just became he became to a point a person that you cannot stop any longer. And that was his last gasp of strength or anger. And he still asks, "Isn't there anything you can do?" Dr. Carson looks down for a moment and says, "No, there isn't anything we can do. I tried a bunch of things, but there's just nothing to really help with Dale's situation, his eye, his brainwave activity. His life is almost completely over. He hasn't got that much left in him." But he did say, and he knows, or at least was told about all of what happened. And he does say that before he goes, which he thinks will be soon, he wants to say goodbye to everyone, apologize, and truly talk to them fully before he goes. And yeah, he just says sorry once again, and just nothing we can do. And with this would be a heartbreaking moment. A very, very heartbreaking moment. Especially for how Dale has been in this story. Living to this point, doing this much, and him to go out like this. Rick, especially along with Glenn, will be utterly trounced with heartbreaking feelings. But everyone involved goes into the room where Dale is. He is indeed conscious. His eye is still blood red, and he barely seems able to move, let alone look at them, but he does with the last little bit of his strength that he has. Along with his old age, his brain activity, his eye, and his overusage of his shotgun. I did tell you guys it would come into massive effect later, and here, that was that tiebreaker moment. And once Dale awoke, he knew, especially with Dr. Carson, that he didn't have much left. So now, he looks over to all of them and gives a big last speech that he will ever make. He says to all of them, "You all gave me a life in this apocalypse. You helped me live through hell and back. Even though I should have died several times over, I'm glad I didn't, because then I wouldn't have met most of you that I did now." Eastman, Tyrese, who he looks down and slowly starts to weak cry for his loss. He laments everyone that they did lose. Andrea, Amy, everyone that they loved, and says that he's glad that they are all still here and honor him and everyone. And he tells them all to never forget about him. Never forget Tyrese, and for Eastman to carry the moral code. Because even though a side of him showed that he wanted to throw all that away, that wasn't him. That was a part of him that he didn't want to show. But he couldn't control it, and says that he's sorry for putting them all in danger. And he's truly sorry he couldn't have been with them until the end. And that he loves all of them, and hopes that they can make it through the rest of this nightmare, keeping their humanity intact. And after this, Dale gives a very sad smile, and he passes. And that's the end of Dale Horvath. He is dead. Now I know, one might think that this is the end of the story, right? Wrong! You didn't think that I was gonna end the story just because Dale died, did you? No! I mean, sure, it's a very sad moment, but the last 1 to 2 parts here of the story, they're going to sum up everything beyond what you just saw. And the ending is going to shock you all beyond belief, especially with this. But with Dale gone, how will the rest of the group keep their humanity? Will they even be able to? Will Sherry and the Saviors come through in the future? What about the Whisperers, the Reapers, and the Commonwealth? What do you think will happen without Dale, the main character, at the fold? See you guys next time.